The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. 𝗟𝗓𝗧 and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen 𝗟𝗓𝗧 is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen 𝗟𝗓𝗧.
Dr. 𝗟𝗓𝗧.
Dr. Doreen 𝗟𝗓𝗧.
Dr. Doreen 𝗟𝗓𝗧 is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. That Larry said, we're looking for additional support for our neurodivergent son, who will be 7 years old at the end of July. He has advanced skills in climbing, jumping, running, and solving puzzles. These make him difficult to contain close to home when his curiosity and sense of adventure spurs wandering. We are working to keep him safe as his safety awareness seems low with respect to road traffic and possibility of getting lost in the wooded areas behind our house. So I'm sure that you have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, so and I think they started out with high functioning, right, Shannon?
Well, he says he has advanced skills in climbing, jumping, running.
Oh, I see those areas.
And he identified as him being neurodivergent.
Got it. So I think, what I'm getting from this is, here's my response, a couple of things. I always tell parents to start with safety first. So if there's a possibility for him to run off in the woods while we're working on teaching him not to do that, let's put some safety measures in place. So the first thing is fence the backyard, like fence your area. I don't care how big or small, fence it in, because I don't even want to talk about, things that have happened when kids run off. So let's fence the area, and hopefully you have the funds. If you don't have the funds, please get in touch with my nonprofit organization, Autism Care Today, because we do actually give funding for fences. So that's one thing. Also, there are other safety steps you could take. For instance, and we've talked many times about this. There are GPS devices that now you can attach to the child's clothing. And or obviously if he's 7, maybe you can even put an Apple Watch on him, something that will allow you to track where he is, which is very important first. So that's that. It sounds to me like you have a child who might have some aspects of ADHD, because you're talking about all activities that are very physical and could be a sign of hyperactivity. You might want to have that evaluated, because if he does have an ADHD diagnosis, there are medications that will help him slow down a little bit, not just physically, but also mentally, so that he can receive information from his environment better. People who are hyperactive, have a difficulty in receiving information. Like when let's say they read a paragraph and they'll read the first 3 words and then they'll jump to a conclusion. It sounds like he's a pretty active individual, so he could also be having problems with receiving information, because everything that you said to me falls under the category of inhibition. And inhibition, being able to inhibit what we call prepotent responses. So someone is talking and you think you know what they're saying, so you interrupt them. That is actually a symptom of ADHD, is interrupting people. You're in the middle of a sentence or a thought, and another thought comes into your head and interrupts the previous thought. That is a symptom of ADHD. And it all has to do with the inability to inhibit certain things, inhibit behaviors, inhibit thoughts, inhibit, vocalizations or walking or fast-paced activities. Inhibition, when you have those issues, it's one of the executive functions. It's kind of like the portion of the brain that controls our more global behavior, what we call executive functions. One of those is inhibition. Knowing how to slow yourself down, knowing how to self-regulate, knowing how to not interrupt others. People with inhibition issues will have a lot of problems in day-to-day life because they will lose objects, they will lose a lot of information that's in their environment because they're just at a different pace. So the two ways to deal with that, one is, as I said, there are medications that help slow individuals down and just help them focus better. But then there is also, you can do a lot of what cognitive behavioral therapy or even applied behavior analysis, focusing just on inhibition. And that means you will, for instance, put the child in situations where normally they would act fast or run off or that sort of thing, or even interrupt, or whether it's a verbal or mental or physical activity where they are not able to inhibit themselves. And you will practice them slowing themselves down. Like, I am not going to be walking out of the room when people are still talking. I am not going to interrupt someone I'm not going to conclude what they want to say until they're finished. So there's a lot of activities and games and things like that you can do to specifically work on inhibition. And I would actually, if I were you, I would actually look that up because, I can give you some samples, but I think you'll probably find a bunch of inhibition activities online, which would be able to help you.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.